And we are live. We are recording for another episode. Everybody, hello, welcome back to the Media Illiterates podcast. I'm Anna. This is Justin, and today, as you can see from the title, we're going to be doing a follow up on our last episode, which is about the Dark Knight trilogy, and we're going to be talking about The Batman, which is the new one from 2022, starring good old Chris Hansen. I mean, Robert Pattinson, and
aka our bats.
okay, yes, exactly. Yeah, we nicknamed him our bats whilst we were watching this movie. But yeah, what do you have any thoughts for the intro?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about these movies since we started watching them, and I have to say, like, I definitely have way more criticisms of the Nolan trilogy now than I have done before. Taking a more like kind of critical and like just poking holes in the narratives and the kind of suspension of disbelief and all that kind of stuff that you have to do to make the Nolan movies work. I still really like the first two a lot anyway, so even though there is definitely a lot of flaws, I still really enjoy them, so it doesn't bother me too much, but it has changed my opinion about them. I definitely do see them in a different light now.
Yeah.
And then so watching this movie in comparison to them, because this is kind of like a reboot of, well, not a reboot exactly, but it's kind of, they're trying to start fresh within the DC universe, right? And they tend to start that off with Batman, I suppose. And the direction they took with this is kind of going back to its roots, I'd say, and taking it in a more comic book direction rather than trying to make it weird. This is a blockbuster. They're trying to be like, this is actually a comic book movie, and we're trying to root it in what the comic book character is about. And that means they take it back to like a kind of more detective style. It's like his early years. It's like in the first 2 years of him being Batman, he's still kind of new on the scene.
Yeah.
People think he's a freak, he's like, but I think the police don't trust him. They all think he's a weirdo as well. There's only like one copper who likes him and allows him to come on to the scene to like look at crime scenes and stuff like that, but the other police officers don't really like it, but they kind of allow it because he's well-regarded cop, who we obviously know is Gordon. So like there's this very I think the angle that they take with it is the way it needed to go. Like I think if they kept going down this, we need to make Batman bigger and more crazy and more like blockbustery as it goes, then it kind of, I think it just starts to lose steam and it loses its identity.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's where the Nolan stuff was kind of going. It kept the Nolan thing was weird because each movie was basically the same in a weird way. Like each one was like the villain wants to destroy Gotham City in some way, or they want to take it over, or make it turn into chaos or something, right? It was always the villain wanted to do something to the city and then whatever. It wasn't like whereas in the Batman, the villain's motivation was a bit more personal, and it was a bit more like it wasn't necessarily about trying to like punish the city or something, or punish Gotham or whatever. It was about corruption and stuff like that, and like being bitter about that corruption. And in a way, I guess, spoilers if you haven't seen the Batman, by the way, is the villain is the Riddler in this one, and they're actually kind of like a mirror of each other.
What we've seen before in previous iterations, it's like very, very different iteration. I feel like that's a vibe that overall this movie has. Like I mentioned a few times, like because the Penguin's in this as well.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very different vibe, and I kind of had a bit of like a weird attitude to that, because I was there like, this doesn't feel, obviously, like the previous sort of more modern iterations of the Penguin that we watched together, like more recently, was the Tim Burton and the Danny DeVito of it all, and that that kind of vibe. And then obviously all previous to that, I watched like a few episodes of like the original series of Batman with the Penguin actor in that as well. So you know, that's what I think when I think of like the Penguin. And this was in this, they're making it. I mean, when it comes to a superhero movie, there's always going to be an element of like fantastical, like it's not obviously like this isn't real, but like in this, they're making it more realistic in the way that they can, in the like these people don't have the same like cartoonish characteristics about them, or like they don't go about things in that sort of way. It's a lot more grounded in like the Penguin's like sort of a bit like a mob boss, I guess, and the Riddler is basically just like a cult cyber hacker type.
He's kind of like a school shooter Twitch streamer.
Yeah, well, it was TikTok. He was doing a TikTok battle at the end, wasn't he?
He did some TikTok streams, TikTok but he had like a little YouTube channel and stuff like that. I think I don't personally, because obviously we have different experiences of this media, and like you don't really know these villains through the comic books, where they have different iterations through the comic books as well. There's been loads of different reboots of Batman through the comic book, because the comics are like from like what, the 1940s or 50s or something. Like they're pretty old.
50s, yeah.
It's pretty old stuff. And so Batman's been rebooted loads of times. These villains have been rebooted a bunch of times, and there's been versions of them that are like this kind of classic version where they are very cartoonish, and that like Penguin literally has armies of penguins that shoot missiles and
literally
crap like that, right? So like it's stuff that you just obviously in the real world would just never fucking happen, right? But he also has, but he is always and always has been kind of a mob boss, though. That part of his character remains kind of consistent through all the different iterations of him. Now, sometimes he's like a carnival mob boss where his underlings are like from the circus or some shit, and they're all freaks like him. But
like in one, they're all living in the sewer. And
basically, but that's also from. But also in the comic books and stuff like that, there's versions of him that are like that as well. But then there's also, and I think this is more popular now. But there's just this. They kind of go more into and lean more into this kind of mob boss thing, where instead of, you know, a penguin is just kind of like a nickname because he has like a bit of a big nose and stuff, not because he's got fucking fucked up hands and actually hangs out with penguins and stuff all day, like, and eats fish and stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's not actually mimicking a real penguin, but so I think I personally don't mind that, but I understand that if you don't have these, if you're not used to the characters being rebooted in these ways, it can be a bit jarring to be like, well, I think the character's this way, and then all of a sudden now they're this way. You know what I mean? So I kind of get you to an extent, but personally, I think the way that the angle that they're taking with this movie, I think it makes a lot more sense to go in this direction. Personally, I think it makes a lot more sense to have everything just a little bit more grounded. I still think they're in a comic booky element. I think things can and will probably potentially get a little wacky in the next one. There's even some wacky stuff about this one when you really think about it, but I do think they're trying to take a bit more of a gritty, grounded approach, and I think that's personally, I think that's fine. I think it works.
Of course, with everything, there are still going to be like sort of the comic book elements of being like, well, this might be a little bit outside of reality, but like compared to even the Nolan ones, which were were still trying to go down sort of the gritty line, especially with the Dark Knight, the second one with the Joker. You know, they were still having that element to it, but I feel like with this new iteration, they are leaning so much more into that and away from the comic book style of things, which again, I liked it. I did like it. And in a way, I think the direction that this is going in, once they establish it, especially in the next one, is going to make me almost prefer this one maybe to the Nolan trilogy. It depends. They're going to have to do this very well. But there's like part of me that's like, yeah, I can kind of get it, because even though they had the more sort of gritty and grounded element, like at least they still have like a Batcave, which the Nolan ones didn't in the same way. Like the workshop sort of place that he had with all the gadgets and stuff in was just basically a big fucking white room with, you know.
Yeah, it was a little bit lame. It didn't have any character to it or anything.
Even though they tried to establish the Batcave situation in one of the Nolan films, like in this one they legit just have a Batcave and he goes in there and there's bats everywhere, and it's like that's where he is. He's in his little Batcave.
Well, it's even like the very, very old Batman TV show, whether it's the cartoon or the 60s one or whatever, where he actually has like a bat computer and he's like he's got gadgets like camera contact lenses that he puts on, and he puts them into the thing, and then he runs it through the computer and he's looking things up and doing stuff.
Why it's been recorded and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do get a little bit of that kind of stuff in the Nolan stuff, but it's not heavily emphasized. And whereas in this, it's way more of a focus that Batman is a detective. He's looking for clues. He is looking into the crime. He's trying to figure out who people are, what their connections are, where this is going into stuff. And there's actually quite an interesting character arc with Batman that I think is quite cool. So in like, because it's the beginning of his kind of journey as Batman, he starts off at the beginning like, he says that I'm vengeance and all this stuff, and he's basically, he's there because he fucking hates crime and he hates criminals, right? He's not necessarily there to help people and save people. He's been personally affected by crime, and he just wants to take his personal grief
by crime. And
and he just wants to take that out on the criminal element, and you kind of get a feel for that through even the action scenes, like when he's fighting the bad guy, like groups of bad guys and stuff. He's just laying into them, you know what I mean? He's not just like trying to do a one, knock them out, and then move on to the next, and then I'm just trying to like stop the crime. He's trying to fucking hurt these people like badly, and it's and then he kind of. It seems like he has almost, even though I think he's meant to be about 30 odd in the movie, he has almost like a boyish interpretation of like the world. So like he kind of starts off at the beginning of the movie with like, there's good guys like my dad and me and Alfred, and there's good people in the world. And then there's bad guys like criminals who I beat the shit out of every day. And there's no nuance, and they don't deserve sympathy. And there's like this very kind of black and white way he has of looking at stuff. And then throughout the movie, that illusion gets completely shattered as he's going along, because he uncovers this entire plot, which the Riddler is actually uncovering, and he's full investigating the Riddler is now all this stuff is coming to light, where the city is massively, like, you're not getting told the city is corrupt. I guess maybe the Riddler is, but you're not just in the Nolan movies. People will be like, this city is just so corrupt. Everyone's corrupt, and that's like a thing that people just keep saying all the time.
But in this one, they actually show it, and like that's a big plot driver.
There's a big difference. Because like you get
stuff getting exposed. Because the press and stuff.
And the way they do it is quite good. So, like, for instance, he meets Selena Kyle, like, he kind of blackmails her a little bit into doing some work for her. He's like, okay, you work in this club where all these gangsters go and stuff. Like, I need you to figure out they might know something about this Riddler. I want you to go in there with my little contact lenses on and see what info you can get. And then she goes in there, and the fucking DA is in there, and district attorney, if you don't know what that is. So who's like a big time lawyer. So they're
and all of his team,
and then they
see the whole department.
Yeah, and then he goes in. He ends up fighting some people in there. He goes in there to try and talk to interrogate the Penguin, and he comes across the fact that there's some off-duty cops working for him and stuff like that. So he's like, wait a minute, there's cops involved in this as well. And like, he starts to kind of realize that like the mayor and the city and these politicians and donors and these mobsters and stuff are actually all intertwined, and they're all blackmailing each other and rubbing each other's backs and doing favors for each other and covering up for each other and whatever the fuck. So like, it starts to kind of change his worldview. There's also a moment where like, there's a bit where he's fighting that group of guys. This is kind of the beginning of like that nuance coming in, is that there's a group of guys that he's fighting with, and he's beating the shit out of them all. They've all got like Joker makeup on, right? So that's like something to take note of. I think that's a little bit of a nod towards something. But but he beats the shit out of them. But like, one of them goes to like, I can't remember if they go to shoot him or if they go to tase him or something. They try and do something to Batman anyway. And one of them is a bit younger. They kind of play it off like it's his like first night being in the gang or something, right? And they're trying to get him to do a crime to kind of initiate him in the gang. And then he sees Batman, but he gets like a bit of he's torn on it, because he's like, actually, I feel like Batman's doing a good thing maybe. And he's like, and they try to go to shoot him or something. He's like, no, don't. And he like tries to stop him. And then Batman beats the shit out of these guys, but then I think he spares that lad.
Yeah.
And I think there is like this bit where it's like, oh, there is like this thing. And then there's another comment that's made later down the line with Selina, the Catwoman. She has a little bit of a speech about, oh, people don't. It's easy when people don't have to make these decisions. He's lecturing her about her responsibility in her friend getting killed and being dragged into this mob stuff, right? And he does have a point, but they both have a point. Like, she kind of turns around and is like, well, that's easy to say when you're not living at the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, if you're fucking in poverty and going homeless and all this stuff, who knows what you'd do to stop that from happening. It's funny because obviously she doesn't really know that it's Bruce Wayne. Like, I don't think she ever officially finds out, but she has like all of these moments where she's like basically like, fuck all the billionaires and fuck all like there's even a part where she's like these white privileged men at one point. And it's like, bitch, he's like, one of them is literally stood right in front of you right now the whole time. Yeah, and he's like also like the one you respect the most and is fighting the good fight, and the irony is palpable. And then she kisses him and she's really into him and whatever. So like, it is like one of them where like there is some irony there where she's like hating on the rich guys, but then she's also in not literally, but kind of metaphorically in bed with them as well. Yeah. But I think this is kind of another point, is that like, just in the same way that Batman is kind of judging these criminals maybe too harshly and not understanding the nuances of like the world that he's getting embroiled in and the motivations for why certain people do what they do and all this stuff, she's kind of doing the same thing. She's judging, white people or rich people or whatever in a certain way without realizing that Batman's there. He's one of these people. He's doing all this stuff. In fact, he's putting his self on the line more than anybody else. So like, it's one of them where like there's always these kind of interesting, very subtle juxtapositions and parallels being made between the different characters. Which is done really, really well. And I feel like I've only seen this twice. So I saw it the first time in the cinema, and I've seen it the second time when we watched it the other day. And I feel like there's a lot you can get out of this movie, and I feel like I need to watch it more times to get even more out of it. But like, there's definitely a lot to chew on here, like especially with the main villain of the Riddler, because the Riddler is literally a mirror image of Bruce Wayne. Like, he's an orphan. He, but instead of being a billionaire orphan with someone who's already there, ready to adopt him straight away, Alfred, and raise him and whatever. So he's basically kind of covered.
Yeah.
He's in an orphanage, getting abused every day. Fucking never got a family. When he hits 18, he's just out on the streets because they don't look after you after that. And he's just kind of fucked over by life and stuff. And he was, and he kind of has all these moments where he's talking to Batman about, like, oh, we looked up to you and we thought you were so cool. We wanted to be like you, and we thought you were going to help us because, his
dad, right before he died, pretty much, had been, because he was campaigning to be mayor, and went into the orphanage campaigning to be mayor because, like, the Wayne Foundation was funding it all, and it was like, I'm gonna give you all this money to basically have lives and stuff, and then he died, and that never happened, and he's bitter as fuck about that, so...
Yeah, he's really pissed off, but that's like the beginning of his bitterness, I guess, but I think the point he was trying to make was that, like, he thought that, like, because he would understand the orphans, that Bruce Wayne would grow up and help the orphans or whatever, or do something, or give back, or whatever. But that never happened. And he's a bit like, what the fuck, man? Like, what's going on? He just left us here. So, like, there is a lot of interesting things, and there is a lot of subtle elements there's a lot of depth to the characters here that I think the Nolan trilogy treats them as vehicles or avatars of themes, right? So, like, Batman's like the avatar of such and such a part of society, Joker's an avatar for this symbolic thing of society or whatever, right? And there is some element of that going on here as well, but they are more realized characters, I feel like there's a lot more going on with their character arcs, like who they are as people. Like, they feel more fleshed out. Like, I just feel like like, I feel like Batman actually had a characterization and an arc that went through the whole thing, and not all of it was super obvious either. Like, you have to really stop and think about some of it and go back to different parts and tease it out. It's not like just on the nose, oh, I'm this way and now I'm the opposite way by the end. It's like it's more like he doesn't come out the other end like the Nolan's Batman, where he's like, I need to be a symbol of hope for the people.
Although I did
it's more like
the Robert Pattinson was doing the Christian Bale voice just a little bit. He had the essence of what.
Not quite as crazy though, but like Christian Bale's voice was like, like he's really like that. It's pretty bad, but. Fucking... Where was I going with that? I forgot what I was saying. He's kind of at the end, he's like, oh, I was doing this for me originally. I was, this was like a selfish indulgence on my part emotionally, because I was just taking out my grief on these criminals. But now he's like, but actually, maybe I can actually try and help people instead, and I can make a difference through that. And he does say something about being a symbol of hope or something to that effect, but it's not the same kind of thing. I think it's not the same idea as the Nolan Batman stuff. It's more like, oh, I can be like an example. I can be an example, and maybe some people will, kind of take my, what's the word for it? Like, take inspiration from that in some way or another. and it'll change things in that way. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's like there's similarities, obviously, because it's Batman. So there's similarities to the Nolan stuff, but I do think they've taken a different angle, and I think it's honestly it's possibly the best iteration of Batman. I think it's probably the
We
best
said
one,
it.
but
There it is. Yeah.
um, yeah, I feel like I keep trying to do like number ratings for movies when we do these reviews, but I feel like I always change them later down the line. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a good idea to do
Yeah,
that, because
no.
sometimes I'll be like, yeah, this is like an 8 out of 10 movie, and then I'll think about it and be like, nah, it's kind of more like a 6 actually. It
Same
wasn't
as.
that great. Like,
Yeah.
and I'll watch this movie and be like, oh, you thought the Batman was like a 7 when I saw it at the cinema? I thought it was like maybe a 7, 7.5. And I was like, yeah, Dark Knight is like 8 or a 9. It's really good. Whereas now I'm like, Dark Knight's maybe a 7.5, and the
Yeah.
Batman's more like an 8.5. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything's always changing.
I
So I
know,
don't know whether I can really even do ratings anymore. I'll try and do them, but I feel like my ratings are kind of pointless and stupid. I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
It's okay. I mean, I feel like this is normal because, like, I was talking to somebody at my research about this because I was saying that we'd watched these movies, and what one of them said, like, because I was saying that, like, the Dark Knight trilogy wasn't really what I expected personally. Like, obviously that you change your thoughts quite a lot on, from the time, and she was basically saying that, like, yeah, I feel like because she'd seen the Robert Pattinson one as well and said that she really liked it and also kind of preferred it to the Nolan ones. She felt like that because there was so much hype at the time around the Dark Knight trilogy. That's what got into everybody's heads that it was like the best thing since sliced bread, especially with the Heath Ledger one being obviously the last thing he did before he died and all this stuff. Like, I feel like now it's been a few years, and now we have a new a new version of it starting. People are starting to see it maybe slightly differently, and then are seeing it beyond just the hype that it was in like 2012 or whenever it was, you know, like it's one of those things. And that is a good point to be made about, like, you know, how much hype certain movies get, like obviously with Christopher Nolan being such a big director, and obviously like the actors and everything being, you know, so well known. And obviously like it's a similar thing obviously with this new one, even though Arbats got quite a lot of backlash, at least when he first got cast, because a lot of people were criticising mostly his appearance, to be fair, which I never really got behind. But obviously he's still a very well-known actor. But it's just interesting that this new version of it, with this new path, and like we've been saying, like the way they're going so much more grounded and gritty with it versus the Nolan, is getting people to go, oh, you know what, this is actually pretty good. We didn't think it would be, but it is actually pretty good. So I'm looking
in a
forward
weird
to
way,
in
a weird way, his casting kind of lowered expectations for the movie.
Exactly.
So that when you went in, it was actually like, oh wow, he's pretty good as Batman, actually.
Exactly.
So it did. I think it was like kind of clever, really, and I was listening to a couple of things before we started this podcast because I wanted to refresh my memory on the movie because we watched it a couple of days ago, and there was some stuff being spoken about by the director, who, or maybe he was the writer as well. I don't know, but anyway, he a lot of the other people that have made Batman movies have not really read the comics. Right, they're not really comic book fans at all, but the guy that made this one had actually gone back and read a bunch of the classic big stories, and he was like, when I came to want to do this movie, I went back and read this, and he was like talking about particular well-known famous Batman comic book stories, and I think it does show that like he actually has a respect for the original medium, and that it originated from, and what the character is meant to be. And I think, and it does show. I think it really does show. And I think the thing you mentioned just before about The Dark Knight and the big hype around the Nolan movies and stuff like that. I think at the time what it was the Batman movies we'd had before were kind of considered a bit of a joke, right? They were kind of
they were overly,
looked down on a bit,
like cartoonish. I feel like, because I'm thinking of like the Tim Burton one, obviously, and then like the one with Jim Carrey, like before that. Obviously,
I mean, they got more cartoonish as they went,
yeah.
But even then, like, they were still considered a bit like, you're not meant to take them seriously. They're not serious movies. You know, you don't. You know, Batman, superheroes, all this stuff. It's kind of for geeks and idiots. Like it was. Those Batman movies are still good in my opinion, for different reasons, but culturally they weren't like seen as like they basically it didn't do any favors to geek culture. Let's just put it that way. Like geek culture didn't like.
You made when we made the Spider-Man Brand New Day video, where you were basically like pre the original Sam Raimi films coming out, like being a nerd and liking superheroes was not cool, and the original Sam Raimi ones made it cool. And I feel like that's when it was
the beginning of that path for sure.
Yeah, so when the earlier Batman movies were coming out, it was still in the this isn't cool era, because this was before the Sam Raimi.
Yeah, basically, yeah, which is odd because they were big blockbuster movies, right? So like it wasn't like they were just little fringe movies. They were big movies, but it was just more that culturally they didn't have this impact like the Nolan ones did. And I think Spider-Man was a big change for sure, but I think but there was still even like Spider-Man has mature themes to it, but it was, how do I put this? It still has like a bit of a teenage feel to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas the Nolan Batman movies feel adult. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they're made for adults. They're gritty. They're taking it seriously, and they had huge hype. And it was for the first time. Now we're getting superhero stuff, these comic book things being taken in a very serious way and acclaimed and highly regarded within the Hollywood world, within the culture, all this kind of stuff. So because of that, I think that's why people are like, so yeah, these are the best Batman movies and stuff, because it was for the first time people who really loved these comic books and stuff felt they were kind of getting validated by the culture, I guess, in a way. Like Spider-Man was a bridge, but it didn't quite get there. But then Batman was like the kind of completion of that. And I think that's like kind of why. But I do think it does skew people's perception of it. Like just like even my own, like when I was watching The Dark Knight, like a lot of the stuff the Joker does is just bullshit. And if you want to hear more about that, go watch that podcast. But there is but in this one, there's not as much, almost none really, of these moments where you have to suspend your disbelief to enjoy the movie. There is a few. There is some stuff.
It's not completely devoid of it, but I don't think with any kind of superhero movie, as I was saying, that you're going to completely avoid that, because they're still going to make it a little bit like, well, this isn't actually real, you know. So there is going to be like to some element of like the suspend your disbelief type stuff
to a degree, but there is some where you are just a bit like, so for instance, there's some moments where Batman basically should have just fucking died.
Oh yeah,
right? There is just moments where Batman, in any other situation, Batman, any person, any human being would just be dead.
Literally,
right?
Yeah.
This happens several times in the movies, or there's certain times.
I think of where he falls or something, or he gets like blown up in the face. Like, what was it that guy gets turned into a bomb? He's got like that bomb thing around his collar. And
Batman's he's got him by the scruff of the neck. Right, he's got him by the scruff of the neck like that, standing literally face to face with him. The guy's got a bomb on his neck. It blows up. He just turns a little bit like that, and then he just and he's fine.
But he's not burned at all. It's this big fucking wall of fire, and he's not burned.
Yeah, he's knocked out for a bit, but he's fine. He's literally fine. And it's just like, what? what
In
the
what
fuck?
world
Like,
is that
this would
ever?
literally
Yeah.
blow you to pieces. Like, it would literally blow you to pieces. Like, your face would just be gone. Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
literally.
So yeah, and then there was the bit where he jumped off the building in that suit, and he's going like fucking 100 miles an hour, flying down this thing, and he smashes into a fucking
Yeah.
bridge that's made out of like pure solid fucking steel beams and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
mate, you would fucking die smashing into that.
Yeah.
Like you at that
And he gets up
speed,
and he's
you would
absolutely
fucking
fine.
die. Like, there's just
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
So there is definitely, and there's some moments where he contradicts himself. So he's like, no guns, no, you don't kill people and stuff like that. And he makes like a bit of a deal about it when it comes to like, Catwoman and whatever. He doesn't tell it to Gordon because he's a police officer. So I guess they're allowed to
Yeah.
kill people in
Because that's the
Batman's
police,
mind.
so they're allowed. Because this is still
But
technically
whatever.
America.
Because he does actually, I think he does try to say it to Gordon. I think he says, like, do you have to use a gun or something? And Gordon's like, look, I'm a policeman, all right? So you can't fucking,
Yeah.
take my gun away or whatever, right? And he's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, no, he says to Batman, like, you do it your way and I'll do it my way, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
or something like that. But there's like, he makes like a bit of a point about it a few times in the movie about like not using guns, don't shoot people, don't kill people, kind of a thing. But then at the end of the movie, when he's fighting all the Riddler mimickers, the doppelgangers
Yeah, his
on the
little cult
roof, he's
members,
just like kicking them off the roof and stuff. While they would just fucking die. Like, they're gonna fall and just die. Like,
yeah, literally.
so like, what are we talking about? Like, what? I know there's a bit where he has a big car crash, which I will say is not technically his fault, but he doesn't really do anything to like try and mitigate the the damage.
Consequences of the damage, yeah.
All these fucking lorries and cars just explode and just crash all over the place at high speed on a thing. Like, surely a bunch of people just died in his crash,
Yeah,
but it's just not
literally.
mentioned again. It's just not even like
Not even
a
touched
thing.
on, no controversy, no backlash, no nothing. Just, yep, that
Yeah,
happened.
yes.
We're never going to mention that again. That's not...
Yeah, so there is like some bits that are a bit like, wait a minute, like that's a bit. But at the end of the day, it's not enough. It's not enough. These are not plot inconsistencies though, and they're not character. Well, I guess maybe for Batman, it's a bit of a character inconsistency, but it's not so crazy or all the time that it like pulls you out of it. Whereas I feel like in Dark Knight Rises or in The Dark Knight, there's just crap loads of this stuff. Like it's like actually every few minutes something like this is happening. Whereas in this movie, it's just a couple of bits here and there you could pretty easily overlook. Also, it's getting a bit dark in here.
Yes, I don't know why. You're literally disappearing. There we go. Now we can see you.
I feel like that light's not very good. Hold on.
It's okay. There we go. And we're back.
So yeah, so yeah, in that regard, I feel like it's a really well put together movie in that respect. I think it's very cohesive. They're telling a really great story. They've got really great characters and characterization, got deep, in-depth writing. It's shot amazingly well.
The action scenes are a lot better than what we've seen before. That was one of the
yeah, and when we say action, we mean the fighting scenes.
The fight scenes. Yeah.
But like with the combat and the fighting scenes are so much better. I was mentioning it to Anna when we were watching it, but in the Nolan ones, you can barely see what's going on. Like you can, they're kicking and punching, and Batman's doing his elbows, and he's coming at him with the elbow shit and whatever, doing all this, and you can barely see what's happening. It's just cut, edit. Like
Marvel.
You can't.
I think we said this in the episode we made about it. It was giving the Avengers editing when it comes to the.
I mean, even the Avengers isn't as bad for it as that, but like the Batman one it's actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the fight scenes in this movie, they take wider angles. They barely cut them, so there's only like maybe a couple of edits within each fight scene, and you get visually you get to see exactly what's going on. The can't say the word. Choreography is done very well.
Yeah.
So everything's angled and positioned very well. Like it feels weighty. It feels visceral. It's a very good way of doing it, and it feels like a real fighting style that Batman has. It's not in the Nolan ones. I remember watching like what was it? It was one of these, like behind the scenes kind of things years ago.
Yeah.
And I swear they were saying, "Oh, we tried to give Batman this Krav Maga kind of style." Now, if you know anything about martial arts, Krav Maga is kind of like a joke in the martial arts world, right?
Okay.
It's not considered to be a real martial art, really. People don't use Krav Maga like to. It's kind of like. It's not to say that you could never use anything from it. I mean, you can. There's probably some use to it, but it's not like. It's one of these ones where it relies on when you demonstrate it, the other person not doing anything. That's what it relies on, and it has a lot of stuff that is quite stuff you just wouldn't do in the heat of the moment. It's like, okay, so if somebody's coming at you with a gun, you twist their wrist around, and you twist the wrist. Oh, fuck's sake! My fucking microphone. You twist the wrist around, and you twist an elbow behind their back, and you do all these fucking bullshit things, and it's like, and you put your foot on the back of their leg, and you push them to the ground, and and it's like. Who's doing that in a fight? Like, no one's doing that in a fight. You know what I mean? It's just not. That's just not happening. It feels more like Batman has the fighting style of almost like an MMA street fighter, almost like he's not like a boxer, but he's not doing kung fu either.
No.
He's doing like very kind of like brutal like backhands and like coming in like pretty heavy. It's got an MMA kind of feel to it, like when they're standing up punching. So I think it's like pretty well done, really. I think it is genuinely some of the better action we've gotten from any of the superhero movies in general. I think Spider-Man was definitely a step up. The recent Spider-Man, that was definitely a step up. A good shout out to Daredevil. Daredevil had fantastic action scenes as well, like fight scenes.
I'll have to take your word for it on that one because I've not seen it.
Yeah, we will give it a shot at some point, but there's just to me, I think they did really, really well with it. They did really well. I think hopefully they kind of build on that in the next one, and we get some even better, more complex fight choreography and stuff like that. That'd be really cool to see that getting kind of built on. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like flaws and stuff, like maybe stuff we could criticize about the movie, because the only things I can think of is there's definitely some times where Batman should have died. That's a big one.
But overall, there's not really that much we can say that is necessarily bad. It's like it is like quite solid. It's a bit similar to kind of what we were saying about like Batman Begins, the first Nolan one. And that it's pretty solid. One thing I will say, I would have appreciated maybe a little bit more of the backstory, like origin story side of things. Obviously, like with Batman, we already know like how he got to where he is. Whatever.
It's kind of been done to death a little bit. Yeah,
but like for me, it felt a little bit like, not that it was necessarily a bad thing, but like it felt a little bit like we were just kind of shoved in there. Like all of a sudden, it's 2 years into him being Batman, and like we get.
Well, hold on though, because the specter of his origin is kind of intertwined in this movie,
well,
so I feel like
although they make that point, but sorry. I was about to say that you do get bits of stuff here and there about it, and then obviously there's the element which is new for this iteration, is that he doesn't really care about the business side of thing, which was different to the Nolan, whereas the previous version we've just watched was still very involved in the Wayne Enterprises and all, like, being the billionaire, like the front man to kind of distract from anyone suspecting he might be anything else. Whereas with Robert Pattinson, it was we even get like a scene where he's in the Batcave and he's being all emo, and Gollum comes up and is like you need to be going to this meeting. Actually, he's like, you need to be going to this meeting, mate, because you're out here, because he's go to
this fucking meeting, mate.
Exactly. But he's like, fuck you, I'm not doing that, I'm gonna stay in my room. He has
You stay in my room, you're not my real dad.
Literally. So that was interesting, and obviously then like that he sort of has like an art with that, but it's like it's just an interesting take on what we've had previously. And yeah, but I feel like that's the only real thing I can say as like necessarily like a negative or something I would have really appreciated.
I think that they are developing the character, so they're not they're not making Batman. They kind of want him to have flaws, and I think this is part of it. Is that I think he's probably gonna realize that actually his role as Bruce Wayne, he will eventually realize he can make change with that as well.
Yeah,
it's just at the moment he's so laser autistically focused on the Batman thing. He thinks this is the only way I can make change.
Yeah.
But actually, I think he's going to realize eventually, actually, I can kind of step into my father's shoes and try and make change that way as well. I just don't think we're getting it in this movie. I think that's going to come down later down the line.
Yeah. So
it might not even be in the next one. It might it might not even be the next one. It might be the one later. But this is another thing we wanted to touch on, actually, that you just mentioned there, that we didn't get to talk about.
This movie is the battle of the incels. That's what this is.
It is kind of the battle of the incels, yeah. Well, we've kind of established that Batman in the Nolan versions and in this one is very incel. He is just very much an incel. In the original ones with Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer and all this stuff, he's definitely not an incel. Batman is like kind of the opposite of an incel. He's like quite suave when he comes into like parties with women and stuff. He's kind of schmoozing them, and like they're like all flirting with him. He's like, hey, what's going on, Bruce Wayne? And it's very funny. There's some quite funny moments with him flirting with women and stuff, and they all want him. So like, he's definitely not an incel in those. But in the Nolan version and in this one, he's totally like, I live in a cave. The most basement of basements is an underground cave, right? Yeah. On my computer all day.
My only friends are Alfred and the Bats. That's it.
I'm just like stalking people, doing weird stuff, hanging out with bats and shit. Yeah. I smell like guano. I smell like literal bat shit all day.
And he probably listens to My Chemical Romance on his free time.
Yeah, he's like literally like more emo than ever. He's like fully just emoing it up with his little haircut and his eyeshadow and stuff. He's like, and he is kind of miserable. I think that's one side of it that I would have liked to have seen, is that he can have different sides. Because like I think the one things that I did like about the original ones is that Bruce Wayne can be fun. Bruce Wayne can have a personality. He is, he can be serious. He can be upset. He can be emotional. I think that's the Michael Keaton ones. Those ones I like because there's more emotional range with Batman as a character. Yeah. It's not that deep, really, but there is different sides to him. Yeah. Whereas in the Nolan ones and in this one, Bruce Wayne in the Nolan ones is more like a facade, and he's pretending to be fun, but he's not really fun. He's just he's just making a public spectacle because he wants people to think a certain thing, right?
He doesn't want them to know he's an incel, and that's just
basically, yeah. But in the original ones with Michael Keaton, he is genuinely fun. Like, he'll go to the parties and he'll be fun. He'll be saying some jokes and he'll be like in the party, like living it up. Like he's not. And in this version, There's no fun. He's
just
very
straight
miserable.
Up emo. He's just straight up. He's the most emo incel you've ever seen in your life, and he just sticks to that the whole time.
For sure. And then you've got the Riddler, who's also
also an incel.
The other end of the incel spectrum.
Other incels on TikTok to go and fucking try and shoot the Merrilegs.
Like weirdly, the Riddler has got more friends than Batman. He's got more. People like the Riddler more than Batman at this point.
Exactly.
They're willing to put their lives on the line, go out and shoot people and all kinds of shit for this guy.
His cult followers, that's what he's got. They're not really his friends, they're literally. To
be fair, out of the two of them, Riddler probably had more chance of getting a girlfriend. And then like Batman, the first time he actually gets some female attention off Catwoman. He's like obsessed with her like straight away. He's having like little jealous moments with her already. He's like, "You gonna tell me I had a relationship with this guy?" And like, you've known him for like 2 minutes, mate.
I don't have a relationship. Fuck with you, contact lens. Fuck you. I'm going. Bye bye. She literally.
He's like having these little like jealous rants with her and stuff. Yeah. And it is interesting that they've kind of depicted him this way, but I actually quite like it. It shows, again, we're not getting like fun sides of Batman, which I would like to see, but we are getting like different sides to him in the sense that like you get that loneliness from him because he's already possessive with her, and they're not even anything. They're not anything at all, and he's getting possessive and stuff because he's lonely and he thinks, oh, maybe there's someone who might understand me or something, like. But and then at the end they part ways, and they can't be each other. I can't remember where she's going. She's going upstate. Going somewhere else.
I'm going like upstate somewhere, wherever the fuck that's meant to be. Upstate Gotham. I don't fucking know. Yeah,
she actually asked him to come with her.
Yeah, and they have a weird little like bike race, and then they part ways, and it's all emo, and it's all
nice. Yeah, and then he's watching her in the mirror as she goes, and he's just like crying in the rain. The one that got away. But yeah, I liked it. There's a lot going on in this movie without it feeling like it's too much. In the Dark Knight Rises, way too much going on.
100%.
I would say in this movie there's just as much going on, and it's about the same amount of time. It's still both about 3-hour movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wheels turning in both movies. But
in this one, you can follow it better. You know what's happening. You're not getting lost.
It's not as ham-fisted.
Random, there's not. Yeah, there's no weird like half storylines going on that you can't really keep up with, and there's no weird sort of side characters who are popping in 2 seconds. Like it's all still consistent with still the amount of depth that Dark Knight Rises tried to have, but with this one, it's like actually translating properly, and you can follow it, and it's like it actually makes a good movie, which is what makes the massive difference between the two.
I think one thing I will say though is that I think one criticism I'll give is I do think the ending works for the movie in the sense that for the character arc of Batman in this movie, it's a good ending in that respect. However, I did find the ending a little bit underwhelming, like when they're the Riddler guy's got a plan. He blows up the water defenses so it floods the city. I was like, I don't know. I was kind of expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more from the action. A bit. It felt like we were getting to a climax, and then it wasn't quite a climax. It was like they nearly made me come, but I didn't quite come. You know what I mean? It was very. That kind of thing.
They edged us. That's the best one they did.
Yeah, they were definitely edging us a little bit with that one. It wasn't a bad ending by any means. For the movie itself, it wrapped it up very nicely in terms of the story and the plot. But in terms of a climax, as like a big action sequence of a climax, it was bits. There was just some bits that were a bit like meh, like the bit where Batman. There's the water comes into the building, and then there's an electrical cable that's going down to the water, and they're like, "Oh, we need to get rid of that cable because it could electrocute the water, and everyone's gonna die." So he jumps in, and it's like a slow mo. He gets on there, and it's almost like he's sacrificing him.
He slices it, and he's like, "Oh my god, he's
he
sacrifice
cuts,
himself!"
and he gets electrocuted. He gets electrocuted doing it, and it's like he's sacrificing himself, guys. It's all in slow motion. It's like this really poignant, emotional moment. He cuts it, and he falls down into the water.
Oh my god, everything's dead, and then he just pops.
Oh, he must
be
dead. He's just fine.
Yeah,
he's just absolutely fine. No.
Yeah, that was another moment we were like, bro, you were meant to fucking die. Stop defying death. It makes us mad. It makes us very mad.
Like there is so many times he like basically should be dead and he's just not dead. So like not. That is I think one of the bigger criticisms you could potentially say, but
but talking about the end as well, obviously like the Riddler, like right at the end after everything, we've established he's not got away with it, like, you know, everything's gonna be okay. So then we get him in the asylum and he's just kind of going crazy in himself, and then you get this voice happening. And essentially it's established that like the Joker character of this universe is also in the asylum, like next to him, and they essentially make friends. They're little buddies now. They end it laughing, doing a little evil laugh off just in the prison. It's great. That's literally what happens. So that for me was quite a good setup. Obviously this is probably going to be another trilogy. That's the way it is. That's so that establishes to me that we might get another Joker in this trilogy, because maybe like
definitely going to be another Joker for sure.
At least in my head, that was establishing the quite obvious problem.
I think they're going to handle it very differently though,
and cause chaos together, and that's what's going to happen.
Well, I think it's going to be handled very differently because the kind of setup for the next movie that they're kind of going for here is that between Riddler and Batman, they've kind of taken out a lot of the established crime syndicates and stuff, right? And the city is also in a state of disrepair. It's been flooded, so it's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of like a state of chaos going on in the city at the end of it. And also there's like a power vacuum within the criminal world. So if you kind of combine those two things together, it's going to be a little bit of like an anarchy situation going on in the next movie, I think. I think that's kind of like what the idea is going to be. And I think the angle that they're going for is that the Penguin is going to kind of try and seize a lot of the power in the criminal world, and he's going to become like a bigger crime boss that Batman's going to have to deal with. And then, but during that thing, I reckon Penguin, I don't know if he's going to be involved in it or not, but Penguin is probably going to break them out, or they're going to get involved with the Penguin in some way.
I agree.
And he's going to use them to kind of try and go after Batman and take Batman out or something like that, so that he's not seen as the one doing it or whatever. Something along those lines. That's kind of where I'm thinking it's going. I feel like the Joker's going to be like, I think the way that they're going with it is they have one main one sub kind of villain, and then the sub villain gets promoted to the big villain on the next one. So then Joker's going to be like a sub villain on the next one, and then he's going to become a main villain later.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Yeah.
That was just my guess. I could be completely wrong on that, but I get the feeling that's kind of the direction they're going with it, which I actually think is a good idea. It kind of gives them the introduction without them being the main thing, and then that establishes them, and then they can be the main thing later when they've been established, which I think is like a kind of a good way of doing it.
I agree. If that's the way they're going to go with it, then I agree. But we're probably not going to find out, at least the second one, until probably like early 2028 at this point. It's being filmed at the moment. There was clips of Glasgow, I think it was, being turned into Gotham. So they're definitely
Liverpool
filming
shout
it.
out, by the way. Liverpool used
mention.
as a
Liverpool mention.
scene, as a backdrop to Gotham City, which was quite nice. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't
quite fun.
clock it the first time I was watching it because I kind of just assumed it's all filmed in America, so I wasn't really looking for it. But then when we were watching it, they pull up for the
For the
funeral
funeral, yeah.
of
We were like,
of
that's
that guy.
Liverpool.
Yeah, and it was just the main like part of the one of the square areas where there's like museums and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, well, wait a minute, that's
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 fucking
fucking
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
That's cool.
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah,
But yeah,
that was the Batman. That was our thoughts on that. I don't think we're gonna bother with the number ratings because we've already established that they change quite a lot.
I mean, we'll give a number rating. I'll give it a number rating. I think
Okay,
this is a
go on
solid
then.
8.5. I gave it that earlier. I'd stand by that. I think it's a
would
solid
agree with you on that.
8.5.
Yeah, I would also put it at an 8.5. Definitely a lot
Very
better
good movie.
than Dark Knight Rises and Dark Knight kind of combined, in my opinion.
Wow.
But yeah, that was
Batman reigns supreme as King Incel.
Yeah, always.
And we love him for it.
We just want him to get laid, though, actually, so we can stop being an incel. That's the that's what we want.
Maybe he'll crack a smile at some point.
He will.
Who knows?
He will. But yeah, that was our thoughts on the Batman. We're not sure what our next one's gonna be quite yet, but we are.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Do we? What do we?
Joker. We're gonna do the Joker movie.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
Because we've done Batman, the Joker movie kind of makes sense. To be honest, we probably, for this version of Batman, we probably should have watched the Joker movie first, really.
Is it going to be the same actor? Has that been confirmed or anything? Or
no. I don't think. No. The Joker movie is kind of self-contained.
Yeah,
it's kind of like its own thing.
I thought it was, yeah.
Or at least the first two are. But I think in a weird way, though, they are kind of connected. So, like the Joker 1 and 2, they inspire other people to be like Joker-y and then obviously in that Batman movie, there's people wearing Joker like makeup, clown makeup,
and there is like a Joker kind of character in the asylum with Riddler. So
yeah, so you could kind of say that potentially this idea of the Joker has originated with this guy, and then Batman comes along, and then somebody else takes up the Joker mantle later. So you could kind of use a bit of headcanon to put the Joker movies in this universe a little bit. So I think that maybe we should have watched it first, but it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, we'll do Joker 1 and 2 as a podcast next, and then we're going to do Superman and some of that stuff.
That's true.
And then we're going to do Watchmen. So we've got a bunch of stuff coming up. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Towards the end of the year,
we will start doing our Harry Potter rewatch because the HBO Max series is coming out on Christmas Day, I think. So that will be fun.
Yeah.
Really looking forward
to that. So we're going to plow through those. We'll probably do like 3 movies to a podcast, I think.
Maybe that's a good way of doing it. Yeah. I reckon.
Generally speaking, just so that we're not doing one podcast per movie, because I think that'd be a bit much. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think we can get through that, and then we'll also do some horror stuff for October and Halloween and whatnot. So
yeah,
I think we've got plenty of stuff. We've got plenty of stuff coming up, so don't worry about that.
It's gonna be great. Okay, so as always, guys, if you like this episode, make sure to like this video. Hype it if you've got any hype points left. Subscribe to the channel, of course, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Ciao.
Bye bye.